Well, it's Rob at Carnival of Randomness, and I had a monologue, but I swear I'm discombobulated. I've been seeing a Phantom of the Kelox building roaming around here. And Greg, I saw this guy when we were on John Adams' show. They got a Phantom down there. He's got this cape and he waves around. I've seen him roaming around here. He set off like a ringing bell or something.
I swear, Governor, it was the most hideous thing I've ever seen.
I don't get it. But anyways, we have a very, very big anniversary coming up in about a month now. 40-year anniversary of Whole Lotta Shakin. And I really want to know how his parents took him in his little baby scooter when he started.
Yeah.
That's our great local treasure, Mike Murray.
Mike!
Hey! And then, by popular demand, we had to go searching and searching. We found that boy over here and rescued him from a Turkish prison just in time. And I'm not going to leave. I'll leave that up to your imagination.
And you're making me sick.
It's Aaron von Litvak.
So you got any really good cigarettes from Turkey?
We'll talk about that afterwards.
No, we will talk about that. So I want to know from both of you, what was it like? The divine 10 commandments on high. What got you into going, hey, I want to really do a radio show?
It was easy. Someone said, you should do a radio show.
Oh, come on, make it more interesting than that.
That was it. That was after I got kidnapped by the gypsies, and then I escaped and started heading west.
Somebody said I should go to hell, too, but that doesn't mean I had to go.
But yeah, it never occurred to me in a million years. I thought you had to, know how to do stuff. Start or go to school.
Well, you used to.
Yeah.
Not for a podcast, my friend.
Obviously, I'm, years into it already.
Yeah, but you got it. You nailed it, man.
Thank you.
Do you remember the old days when they used to have that Element 9? You had to go to Buffalo and take...
Well,
there was a thing called Element 9 or something.
I liked it when I was in high school, but I had no idea how to get on the radio. So finally I figured it out. Let's go to college and learn.
That's what I thought you had to do.
And I did. And the funny thing is, everything I learned, they got rid of.
Right.
I did work for a couple of local stations for a while, doing overnights, running programming, reading the weather. And I worked for a station in Geneva on AM, which... I did a few things. I wanted to see if anybody was listening. Apparently they weren't, because it would. But, surfing bird on AM too many times just ain't going to go. But, and eventually, ironically, while I'm learning how to be a broadcaster, I meet Mick Albert at Scorgies, where else, during a Chesterfield King show. And he's only 16, so somebody snuck him in. So we struck up a conversation, and I'm like, I've got this record, I've got that record. I'm going, oh, man, we should do a Friday Night Filet, which they used to have on WITR way back in the day, which would be at least 3 hours of an artist or a particular style of music.
What year about?
This was 1984, because it was the 20th anniversary of the British invasion as opposed to the 60th.
I was gone, but that's why I never heard it.
And so we did it, and they had it on the student union, and people were digging it and everything. So the program director, Hal Horowitz, said, why don't you guys do a 1-hour show on psychedelic music? Well, we skirted around that pretty good. But we mostly played garage rock, but I did open up with the Amboy Dukes, Baby Please Don't Go. That's the first song we played on the show. And so we did an hour of that. And then the next year we expanded it to maybe some surf music, and then after that, a couple of years after that, I just said, let's just frickin' play everything, And so we named it. It was originally the Psychedelic Sunday, then the Boss Beat, then Whole Lotta Shakin in 1987. And from that point on, here we go. And Mick left the show in the end of 95, early 96, I think, due to family issues. And I've been cranking it out ever since. So
I just saw Mick a couple weeks ago over at Johnny's.
Yeah. Well, he works the door there.
Yeah.
Come on, man. So, so we did that. And, he left that. And then... things got a little dicey at WITR at one point, and I got a inquiry from WRUR wanting to know if I wanted to come over there, and I said, yeah, they had a stronger signal at that point. You're working at WXXI Studios, which was nicer. I didn't have to go to student meetings anymore or any of that, which were required for community members. So I said, well, that sounds like a good alternative, and I did. And and then they started broadcasting it in Ithaca about 3 years later. So it's all been good, man. All been good.
Like quite a journey, but that's the way you got to start,
Yes.
It's like playing in your garage and then onto an actual stage.
Well, it's like what you're doing, Greg. You're just going out and you're playing.
Right.
You can't stop.
No.
You don't want to. You don't think about it. You're just like, okay, what's on this week's show?
Right.
And last year, Scott Wallace and Doug Curry had their 40th anniversaries. And what I think Scott, I remember him saying, was just, okay, I'm done with this week. Let me start thinking about next week's show. That's all you do. It's what you do.
I think of Dougie Curry a lot because Empire Comics, yes, is Blacks and Blues, awesome. Mm-hmm. Great guy. Bought a car from him. Yeah. That's another thing. But he's a big fan of Zap Comics.
Yeah.
That's what I think of. Zap Comics. It's amazing how the little tidbits stick in your head. But I will say something about the Signal. I listen to Kano's show, The Beatles, coming here every week, and I listen to, I had, my famous transistor radio. I would listen to the show on. It's sort of like the Signal is getting out, so I'll listen to it on the computer. But like listening to the Barron show, I had a friend was playing at a library one day, and I went down there, just got out in time to tune into you. I'm going home. As I get home, it's switching between the Rumble and Cuban dance music channel, which was kind of interesting. Wow. Yeah. So it's better to stream. I like that. Isn't it amazing? You can, when I notice like both of you, like yes, Liz too, how do you get all these listeners from all over the place?
The internet.
Yeah, that's it.
We've got the same thing with us. Like I've had people from Canada.
Well,
that's amazing.
The Australians, got a few listeners down there, and they're great. And they send me pictures of the sun coming up in Australia at whatever, it's the next day, so it'd be Sunday. And, they're into it, man.
It's the only place you can, you go and you're there the day before you left or something like that?
Yeah, you come back and repeat the day.
I think if you go to Japan and come back, you get the whole day back or something.
And it's, I think, winter there now.
Yeah, it's winter, but it's not quite like ours, but it's cold.
Well,
but yeah.
Our winters have been pretty Australian-like.
Yeah, lately.
And it's true the water goes counterclockwise or something?
Yeah, something like that.
Well, I have a good friend who lives down there, Rachel, and she's like, when are you going to visit? When are you going to visit? Well, you shouldn't have told me that story about having a Western brown snake in your bedroom the one day. You wanted me to visit
the people you invite in, honestly, it's not good.
I mean, really, that's the one thing about up here. It's like, it's you don't run into stuff.
You get a cold winter and all these things go away. That's true. But in yesterday's show, Dave Anderson recorded with Knuth and Ollie. They're two gentlemen from Germany. They came to Saxon Recording in Rochester to record part of their album, and I think they finished it off there. And now they're debuting some of the tracks from that LP in Germany this week, which is the week of, the 13th? 14th of July. And the funny thing is, they're messaging me going, hey, we're listening, so it's kind of weird.
That's awesome. That's great.
Yeah, and you've got Devore always listens to you from Wales. Yeah, so.
I got two Welsh people.
Got two Welsh.
That was my joke. I got half the population
of Wales.
Well, we always had the thing with my dad, you were hillbilly music.
Yeah.
and then you were, what the hell is this?
and I put out a CD that tastes great.
Yeah, and he tried to eat his CD. That was the thing. He never ate any stuff you played.
That's filling.
Sticking with some Limburger on rugged rye bread and mustard. But
I
can't get over his face because that would be a highlight of his day. The music shows, the Stooges, the great Lord Welk.
Oh yeah,
because I have the box set of the Stooges too. So but you should. One time I started dozing off, and I get this elbow. Lawrence Welk's on the channel, but I just
Lawrence
look
Welk's on the Three Stooges.
But just the look on it, because that's what you would be hillbilly music. But just the look on his face when he heard the Rumble, I wish I remember what songs. What in the hell? I go, well, he's a Spike Jones band and a Stooge band. Oh,
that's all right then.
I got a pass.
That's one of the things I really like about both your shows is also there's a feel for the era and what you're doing. You're not just playing songs. You give this whole vibe of...
I stole it all from Mike. I don't have to go to school. I'll just listen to this guy.
That I don't know, but...
It's like an error, like the culture, everything you're transported back.
It's like we're still hanging out with our friends and just shooting the bull, but doing it on radio. I mean, that's what it is to me, and that's why I do it. I like to do it live when I can, because I like that connection, and with social media, it's more immediate. Back in the day, you wondered if anyone was listening. Sometimes I still wonder that, but every now and again you get...
I know there's 3 people. They just texted me.
You get a whole lot of messages, and it's satisfying to just be, hey man, let me play this for you.
I thought of that though. I wondered about this show, and then I was walking out there, and somebody's like, "Are you Rob Schwartz?" and slapped me in the face. Like, you listen to the show? No, I actually found out, and I looked at list, and I'm going. Before I figured it was like -2, but no, we have like a good following. And you wonder, it's like word of mouth.
Word of mouth.
People, somebody sees the name, or somebody sees like one guest they know when they listen, and they hang around.
I've been noticing lately more and more for myself. I think it's because of the pictures, the Facebook pictures. People just come up to me and they go, "Well, what's this podcast thing that you're doing? What is that thing you're doing on a Sunday?" And I explain it to them. They go, "Oh, that's cool. Can I go on it?" And that's kind of how,
Did they know the whole ritual of getting on? We only take the very best.
Yeah.
Well, first you have to
show up
the
at the
background
door.
check.
Show up at the door.
I won't get into the story, but a couple guests I've had to fight, which I did there.
We have had them camp out a few times, overnight.
And everything else.
Those days.
But it's I had somebody recognize me around here once. It's just interesting. But that's like another thing, too, is how, since you started, you've been out in the music scene for a long time, what have you been saying how the scene's evolved and everything since you started?
Oh, God.
Hey, I get the tough questions here.
That's a tough question.
Now, what's your favorite Godzilla movie? Astro Monster, probably.
It could be or Destroy All Monsters. But either way, for me, it's just kind of amazing that there keep being younger people who are playing the same genre of music. One goes away when we finished doing our thing 40 years ago as far as musicians. Just me, Steve. Just me. But, the garage bands and all that, and the Fertility Wright Brothers doing this rock and roll thing, and then, boom, the Thunder Gods show up, and the Quitters, and then, they go, and there's, the Isotopes show up, and then, the Televisionaries show up, and Harmonica Lewinsky,
I thought Trevor was a disco guy.
No. So, and the harmonicas and everything else, and Duke Galaxy and the Pipeliners, now the Rhino Chasers. I mean, these guys just, it just keeps happening, and it's kind of cool.
Created. Yep.
Well, and there are younger people doing this music, not just a bunch of us old farts going, I remember the time I was at Scorgy's and they kicked our cramps out. I remember that. And Elvis Costello, they threw him out.
You segued into one of my stories I love to tell about the Cramps when they got kicked out. Supposedly they went to Marge's, and there was some... Now, I'm not going to quote who told me this because...
Well, you may have some connections there.
Yes, I have some connections. Yeah. But, remember, this is a fun show. We're not trying, for the veracity.
They went to the wrong place?
They got booted. I don't know why they got booted. I mean, Scorgy was a gentleman most of the time.
They were trashing the place.
Yeah, the ceiling. Was he
I was there.
I was there too.
They were tearing it up, and I'm like, I gotta go now. But because New Math opened up, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go see him. And then I'm like, what the?
And they went to Marge's, and there was some old classic picture, the perfect bar fight, a sort of a Florida tiki bar.
Yeah.
And Ivy had this leopard skin jacket on, coat, and he's looking at her, and he's like, va, 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 voom.
Oh, yeah. Boing.
Trademark.
How sweet it is.
But the last time I ever saw them was, I think, 2005 with the Von Bondies or somebody.
Was that at Water Street?
It was at Water Street, and they didn't... The opening band's bus broke down, so they started early. And I remember Ivy actually smiled at me for a second. It was one of the highlights of my life.
Yeah.
And everybody was there. It's El Destructo, Falardo. It's old homecoming week.
Jeff in the Future and I came straight from a Bills game once to see him there. I remember that. We still had our gear on. It was a Sunday night. We're like, let's get out of here. Game's over. Let's go see the Cramps.
I love that name, El Destructo. It's just a cool name.
But I think that's the thing, too, is you find out, like, I remember, like, meeting the Todd Kratz, the Kratz man. Why? Because we would just show up every gig. I would just show up, like, any show he'd be there, like Bill Kirchin, all these shows at the Bug Jar. We'd just run into each other every time.
Well, initially at the New Math shows, it was the same 15 people, I think. You know, it's the same people. You'd see them every week, and they just really didn't care, you know, what kind of grief they were getting at whatever establishment they were at. They were there to see him, and, you know.
I think there's still, like, that sort of crowd out there that, I want to go out, if there's music, let's go.
That's the whole thing, though. You got to have fans. I mean, those are diehard fans.
Hey, man, it's all right, you know. Hey, say no more. Say no more.
But then also I got to get in, I remember more obviously with Steve, but I've seen the Fertility Wright brothers. Remember they showed the Bug Jar with Mark?
Oh, this was like a reunion show.
Yeah, I remember
that
show. Yeah. But how did you get into? Did it go from doing the radio show to playing, or did the playing come before the chicken reference for the egg?
It was
gotta make one.
Probably about a year before that I put my first band together, and then around the same time we started doing the radio show. So it all started happening about the same time.
So I would have just had the ego. I would have brought my band on and played like for the radio show.
Nah. We get to open for the Chesterfield Kings. I figure I'm going to pay anyway, and they're going to pay us. Not much, but they're going to pay us. So it's win-win for me, you know.
Yeah, like Steve, how did you get started in playing? I actually never know the origin of that. I know, like,
ladies and gentlemen, here we go.
I remember seeing you at the Crown brunches.
Oh, that was like 100 years after I started playing.
Yeah, see?
The rock and roll brunch we invented.
Yeah.
The rock and roll brunch.
Yeah, we played a bunch of Sundays. During their happy hour. Their Sunday brunch, like, you know, they had special menu, they had special drinks, blah, 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 blah. So.
Cheers to my good friend Colette, too, for playing
Colette, that was her idea. She was like, what do you think of it? I said, sounds brilliant. And I said, the rock and roll brunch. Forget this piano art crap. We'll go out and we'll do a set. And we played like almost 3 hours without a break before.
Make people's ears bleed. Let's go.
No, everyone stayed on the other side in the bar, and then we get done, you hear all this hollering and clapping.
That works.
Was guitar always your instrument, or did you dabble in other stuff?
No. It was the guitar. And actually, it happened when I got ripped out of Henrietta. We moved to Brighton, because no one in Henrietta played anything. It's just band instruments. And none of the people I knew, all the dudes, it was either cars or sports and getting in trouble or any combination of the three. And then I moved to Brighton, and the 2 semesters I went.
Brighton?
Yeah, before I got kicked out of there, there's all these kids playing guitars and basses, and I'm like, geez, they suck. And they're douchebags. I could do better. And I also got sick of people asking me, because I was really deep into music. I had long hair. And I got sick of people going, hey, what's the name of your band? What's the name of your band? I don't play anything. Right. So then the Ramones broke out. And I was like, I could do that.
Yeah.
I might even be able to do more than that.
I only have to stay awake for 2.5 minutes.
That's cool. I go, that doesn't look that hard. And, you know, I was doing that in like a month. And it was just like so natural. And I just blew up from there. And my first band was that fucking Tom. Monster Zero. That was our band. And we used to rehearse. We were with this dude named Mitch. I can't think of the band he was in. Oh, he was one of the Bowery Boys.
Okay.
And he had half the house right across from where Monty's is. That first house on Laburnum Crescent next to the 7-Eleven.
Okay.
And we practiced up in that attic.
Oh, that's convenient.
And we did the Stooges, the Dead Boys. I mean, we did MC5, the Ramones. It was like so much fun. And of course, Tom ruined everything. Mitch couldn't deal with him. Mitch was like, he had his problems. He was like a real sensitive kind of guy, and that was the first band. I've been in so many bands with Tom.
Yeah.
I can't remember all the names. They never got out and even did a party. And we were always really good, man.
Yeah.
Except when he'd get Mark. And I'm like, he can't sing it, but he knows the vocals. I'm like, fuck. And then I go, and you guys are going to, well, don't call us the Piranha Brothers. That's what always gets us going. I go, let's stop earning the name. The Piranha Brothers, they eat their own.
I would have loved a shirt of that.
Very astute assessment, Mr. Litvak.
And so I ran away to Virginia Beach to find fortune, fame, and heroin.
Get me out of here.
See, my biggest thing was like that, where I used to manage Gothic Toad, but I tried to start playing, and I just realized I played bass, and I've always been sort of a good self-critic, and I realized I sucked. And it's not only, but I have to.
But you realized it.
I always go.
No, because
a lot of people don't. They don't realize it. And I've actually, one of my little schadenfreudes over the years is always seeing people who think they're really good and they stink. And I feel bad, for any of you with in bands who get the person auditioning who thinks they're just awesome.
It's entertaining.
They're terrible.
As long as you don't have to deal with it, it's entertaining to watch.
There's a show.
You
can find this on YouTube, a little snippet you can find. It's called Tribute. Doesn't matter if you like tribute bands or not, but there's a Kiss tribute band. And the guy who plays Gene Simmons goes insane, burns his house down.
I saw that.
It's hilarious, but they get this guy. So they get this guy. He's total doofus. And he comes on, I want to live my dream. And he's like, okay, now just relax and play. The guy starts jumping around, whacking his tongue. And they're all going, and then you hear him go, they're like, oh, I don't know if I want to keep going. I go, man, look, that guy sucked. And you see him carrying his bass up to his guitar.
But you have to admire the chutzpah. And
yeah.
No, I think it's a cluelessness, no, because really bad person I knew decades ago, he thought he was going to be this big rock star, and just because he played guitar. And the thing was, I know musicians. I know, especially, I think I know musicians. Probably the worst guitarist I've ever heard.
Wow.
But he had it in his head where it's
worse than me, buddy. That was bad.
Yeah, so
I was watching Florida put some of the Quatloos up on
name,
Friends
though.
and Players. Well, the good thing is you can't see us because there's no lighting. But the bad news is you can hear us, and you can hear my tinny, crappy lead guitar. It's hysterical, but we didn't care. I'm like, let's just get together, play 3-chord songs, drink beer, and who cares? And
I think that's part of it, though. It's rock. It's
what I still do.
It's I've always said about...
I figured out
you have ability, though.
I've also figured out that 4th chord.
Yeah.
I don't know what it's called, though.
Yeah, you get your card now from the musicians.
Yeah. It's funny because you guys have such different, you're more similar influences. Me, I came up in that, late 60s thing, so I was learning Three Dog Night songs and all this top 40 stuff and playing in bands and doing the stuff of that era, and then I got into jazz and got into Prague and I got into different things and went to college, and so it all kind of comes full circle. And then, now I heard my neighbor gave me a bunch of albums, the King Bees and the Waitresses and all that stuff, and I just love that stuff.
Yeah.
But and then I played with Frank,
the Boys?
No, with True Believers there, Frank.
Oh, Dan.
Dan Frank, yeah. So, then all of a sudden I'm listening to that kind of stuff, and I'm introduced to that stuff, and I'm like, holy man, this is cool. So I mean, it's interesting. You have to just stay open to things, I guess.
Well, you're like a real musician.
Yeah.
Don't get his ego up.
You got the rest of us.
Yeah, we're talking about just guys that rock.
Yeah.
All I could think of is Chuck DeGrome, though, from Three Dog Night, the stories about his drug use and stuff. About he had $120 million and he blew it. But the worst.
Well, I just played them recently.
Yeah, but the worst one was he's talking about his coat. He would shoot it into, and he's in the bathtub, and he sees his wiener floating
Goodbye.
See, we can say that on this show.
Goodbye, Ferwini.
Oh, that's right, yeah. No FCC here. I could fuck and shit and
get it out of you. Get it out of your
bastard scumbag.
You're going to do the first face that way, and don't do the other one because I don't want to smell it. But still.
Did you know that Carmine Appice was on a talk show on Wham?
Really?
Week? Yeah.
Well,
I heard
he played it. Fanatics
sponsored it.
Pub.
Yeah.
Cactus.
With just Carmine. We got the original truck driver.
And
we got Ed that used to schlep the Ampeg stacks of Tim Bogert.
It's amazing.
ZZ Top's got a dude wearing a fake beard.
ZZ Top.
What do you guys think about that, actually?
Designed.
Oh, wow.
So I could use it with a small amp to get that McCarty sound.
Nice.
That's how obsessive I am of Cactus.
He's bloody upset.
What do you think of nowadays? It seems like it's come back a little, where before, like, I think it went away in the 90s and the early, like, part of this century. Now it's like there's so many cover bands, so many of these, I would call them, you know, these over-the-hill, call them tribute bands almost, where they're the name, but nobody's in them. Like Foreigner right now, I guess, there's nobody, and I know two of them have passed away.
Well, Mick Jones is...
Yeah, but no, Mick will come out of the curtain and wave. He won't even play.
Oh,
and they call him this, and people are going to see this stuff.
And spending a lot of money.
And I always use, like, the analogy about what really makes a band, though. Isn't it the people in them? And like,
it's the singer or the guitar player. One of the two, the lead guitar player or the singer. Other than that, why bother?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny how, like what you're saying, a lot of these bands, especially like Foreigner, they've become their own tribute band.
Yeah.
And it's very strange. I mean, it's kind of like fourth wall stuff, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
And I am sort of like a weird purist.
That was
like that.
generic music to begin with, so it didn't matter who was playing. You know, it was really just the voice.
Right.
Yeah.
And occasionally, the great guitar, but
the
it wasn't a generic form of great guitar.
The arrangements were pretty good, though, if you dig into them a little bit.
Oh, yeah. I'm not, they were good
but
musicians,
I always go, like,
but
if you're a fan
to me, I always
Yeah.
just felt that there's nothing there. Man.
Well, that's that whole corporate rock. That's that whole thing that happened.
It's a product, baby. Let's sell this son of a gun.
Yes,
which is, like took over everything.
Yeah.
That's how we got new wave, because
Well,
they couldn't... they had to water down punk.
Yeah.
Because there's no way they were going to be able to sell that.
Well, they wouldn't play anything if it wasn't disco at the end of the 70s, to the fact that I went back and revisited this lately. The Kinks had a disco single.
Everyone
the Stones had a disco single.
Miss you.
Yeah, I mean, it was #1 record.
What was the Kinks
Rod
one?
Stewart.
I mean, Blondie, they had to have a disco song to get to #1.
Bowie.
Rod Stewart, Bowie. Well, Bowie was always on the edge of that
Bowie
stuff
would,
anyway,
but I say Bowie was always like a chameleon, though.
Yeah. But I'm saying they wouldn't play rock music, and then it kind of crept in. And then when it just started getting good again, then MTV
ruined it,
killed it.
Yeah.
But I can't believe Kiss would sell out and do a disco song.
Yeah, I was there. I saw them that year.
I just read
a friend of mine had tickets. Arthur Lou, you know Arthur.
Yeah.
He's like, I got an extra ticket. You want to go?
Buffalo.
Hell yeah! So I'm like, Kiss. We'll go see Kiss, and it was pretty cool actually.
But you know what Paul Stanley called like that phase? It was HR puffing stuff on ice with the real frilly costumes and stuff.
I just read a thing
they had
where
the original stuff.
They didn't, because I remember the one where they really had the gear.
No, they still had all their early albums that look.
Oh, I think you're talking about what was it? Italian dude, that little Italian dude playing guitar.
Who's it?
Vinny
Vincent, yeah,
Vinny Vincenzo.
No, I saw that one where they did.
Wasn't that the Puffin stuff look?
No, that was Dynasty. That tour was the Puffin stuff
all the same
look.
shit.
But I just read a thing where Gene Simmons said he hates that. I Was Made for Loving You. He says he freaking hates that.
Of course he hates it, but they made him do it. So and they had a hit record. It went to #11.
Because I'm standing there going, do.
With them, the Kinks, the Stones. Yeah. Everybody had these because they wouldn't play rock music on commercial radio anymore unless it was a rock station.
This is my own personal opinion, but I felt like it kind of turned a corner with Boston and Foreigner. All of a sudden, heavy got sort of back in vogue, even though it was glossy. Yeah. But at least that it started crept back, and then you had offshoots from there. And that's my own observation, I think, but Boston, to me, saved it.
Yeah, and that wasn't even a corporate creation.
Right.
It was just Tom Schultz in his house.
Right.
Yeah, I laugh about that.
And he had like a brilliant guitar tone.
Yeah.
So, and everybody stole it.
You didn't buy a Schultz?
That was before me. No, I didn't start till I was almost... Well, I got a guitar at 16, and it sat for half a year. And then I was like, I should do something with it.
It's not doing anything.
But, I didn't know how to tune it. That was the big thing. I had to go take a lesson to learn how to tune it, because there weren't tuners yet.
Right.
There were those big strobe, by Con that only like real big touring acts had, or professional piano tuners. So, I went to this girl, and she showed me, like, how to tune. Like, here's the Ramones, here's the Stooges album. That's the D chord. So, and there's the E. Oh, so...
Hey, you're all set.
Yeah, and when she showed me how to do it to rockers, I was like, the keys unlocked, the keys unlocked.
It's funny, because I played classical guitar for 1 semester in school. And I had to work my ass off.
I bet.
Right? So, I see so many people that play guitar, and it almost seems like... This must be easy, but I know it's not easy. Why are there so many?
Right.
I mean, is there a reason, or is it just because it's cool?
Some people take to it, some people don't.
Like Chico Marx doing the one thing about, well, how much Groucho goes, how much should we pay you to not practice? You can afford it. We don't practice, we don't play it.
That's a pretty good one, boss.
I love that. Yeah, their logic is the best.
It is.
That was like the best. But I love this about how that story and everybody bought the Boston album because of the cool cover.
Right.
Which I'm the only one who didn't know those were guitars. Took me years. It's a sailboat. But there's this story on the back of the album about how they all met and how they formed a band. And it was Tom Schultz. He got to play with them.
It has nothing to do with it. He grabbed some people to help him out.
Yeah.
But we really have now. Tell us a little about this big, huge beach blanket bingo 40th anniversary.
40th anniversary of the Record Archive, Friday, August 16th from 6 to 9 p.m. So there's a bar there, and that was the important thing. It's a great back room they have there. Plus, there's plenty of parking, so those were my requirements.
Plenty of free
you got a bar.
And safe.
And I don't mind, like, records. I saw when Adriana played there on Record Store Day. I don't care if I'm miles down. I can still walk.
You can still hear it. You're not going to sit in a cramped room. You'll probably get a wristband to come in and out. There's no charge.
There's
but
a dinosaur
you'll still get one
with oven mitts.
Yeah, and so it's all good. So free parking, free. We're not going to charge you to come into that. Just come in, say hi. I've got some tunes going, and have a pop. It's all good.
Oh, it would be like, get some band that's bad. They don't charge you to come in, lock the doors, and they go, now you can't leave.
That's what we did. We had our CD release there.
Well, I don't necessarily want a band there, only because people want to shoot the bull.
Right,
and you can't.
You got a good idea.
The only weird part about that was like trying to find a copy of your CD. I found some guy in there I thought worked there, and I asked him, and he's like, yeah, they have a lot of CDs here. Where's the CD?
Where's the CD? I got ones with hand drawing on them. I got a lot of those.
I wonder where you got that.
I don't know. I got it anywhere.
I don't know, but yeah, it's a great location. Great.
Yeah, so I mean, it's a good room for that sort of thing. Just to hang out, have a few beers, and just say hi. And what I do, I went and did a radio show every week since I've been 23.
Yeah, Steve, how many years do you have till 40 on this?
I don't have enough toes and fingers. But I made it. I'm about 7.5, which went by so incredibly fast. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're even nearing 300 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what's like a motivation of doing that for 40 years? You still just love doing it?
I always wanted to.
You don't have somebody blackmailing you in the back? We don't know.
No, we got pictures.
Even then, it's radio, so we're good. But when I would listen to the radio when I was 4, 5, and 6, I remember hearing the Beatles distinctly. I mean, it's just, or the Kinks and all the pop songs that were on the radio, I thought they were great. And a lot of them back then, it wasn't just all, I mean, you had Secret Agent Man, or you had, the Kinks, the Beatles, the Stones, the Animals. It was all great stuff. And summer of 66, I mean, I've got my first transistor radio, and what's on? Dirty Water and Mother's Little Helper and Little Girl by the Syndicate of Sound and all that. Sam the Sham and the Pharaohs, baby, my favorite. So I always thought, wow, this is great. And then I watched radio go from that to, we're going to play some more smooth songs, because it split at that point. Anybody who was a serious musician was on FM, and AM. My analogy is where Kirk gets beamed up, and they got the evil Kirk and the good Kirk. And I think that's what happened to music. It got too wimpy over here, and it got too heavy over here, and the combination of both, which I thought were brilliant, sort of disappeared. Now, there were tons of examples. I mean, Steppenwolf was great. Creedence was great. You know, there's all kinds of groups that were like that, but then it just got heavy, and then after that, it got really soft really fast. James Taylor, Carly Simon, all that stuff, and it's like, what happened? Even though there were occasional songs on the radio that were great, Grand Funk, I'm sorry, I like them.
So do I.
You know, BTO, all that, you know, so, and then the Ramones came along, and they're saying, buy our records. House Guitars commercials. So I did, and I was like, this is it. And so from then on, I'm like, man, I know what sounds good. I would make tapes for people, and my poor buddies, when we went somewhere, no matter whose car it was, my tape went in, and I threw big parties, and I had the music going for these huge parties that we would jam all night and everything else. So finally, I got the opportunity to actually play what I like, the way I want it, the way I think that it should go. I guess it worked out. My tape would go in my car, and it would not come out. Most of the time, that was the problem. Yeah. You remember getting it stuck in the deck? Well, yeah, that would happen. Going back,
trying to rewind it with the pencil.
Yeah, there's a story. My first Blue Oyster Cult live album got caught my tape thing and got wrecked.
And you didn't know for a week.
Which is and that was the first thing. If I got a car, all right, it's running. Now we go spend all this money on a stereo. So
the other one was I would pick my mom up like from euchre or bowling, and I have to hear I don't like his voice. Or whatever I played with him. It always sucked. But there's a story I like to go back to too as we go off on tangents about how this music continues. About the story you know this one too about meeting Dick Dale. Mm-hmm. And I'm second in line. Dick is like over an hour late at least. And people get ornery.
He's on surf time, man.
Yeah. And so I'm going up there, and I have a mojo. He starts talking to me. He's like, I go, well, you can have it if you give me something. Just give me something. By the end of the conversation, people are looking at me like they're going to jump me in the parking lot because they've been waiting for it. He's inviting me over to his house in Big Sur. And then, but what I saw that was really cool, there were these kids behind me, and you knew they were the weird kids in high school.
Sure.
And they dug this stuff.
Well, that was it. We were all, people were like, what are you listening to that crap for? Oh. I mean, you're the only three people, me and my friends that listen to this stuff. There's no one else that likes this stuff.
There aren't even any words.
And it turns out that there are a lot of people
Well, I had my friend Greg Murray, God rest his soul.
Well,
he was No, he was from high school. He, I didn't even get the connection. Murray.
A whole lot of Murrays.
Yes.
That's it.
But he was more into Black Flag and all that stuff. And so he was really out there with that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But I always had the thing where, in high school too, where if you were outed, which I mean was, okay, if you're a metalhead and you're talking to somebody in the gym locker room and you're going, hey, did you hear that jazz album? Your friend hears you. Because you listen to a different genre and everything else, but it was like the blessed triumph, the Trinity there about Rush, Journey, and Styx for all of them. And I made like a gun club tape for somebody, and I go, gotta listen to this. And what do I get? Rob, this music sucks.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, it was the Beatles with me in school, and this was, 1976, 77. And people are like, well, you shut up already. That's old news. Most of them. My friend Jack from File Under Popular, the Sinister Minister, he was another Beatle fan along with me, and we would just wax poetic about the Fabs all the time. So, it was good.
But like the first thing for me were Beatles still, and I always go back to 4th of July for whatever reason. XXI had Yellow Submarine on, so
that's what drew me in.
When
I was
cartoons,
2 or 3. No, in the movies.
My Beatles story. Well,
the movies too.
I loved them, and then I remember it was August 1968. My parents were throwing a dinner party because my dad was the department head, and all this stuff. So. We're getting ready. I'm getting ready to be sequestered up to my room for the night. And they're like, we've got the new Beatles song coming right up. And I'm like, I'm sick of these guys. And I'm 8 years old, okay? I'm going to sit down and I'm going to listen to this song and see if it's any good. Well, it was Hey Jude. and I was in love. And then it was like Beatles all the time. Even though I had liked them before, you just get tired of hearing about them. But, man, they deliver.
I tell you, they got the greatest promotion thing going. Whoever's running their stuff, I mean, look how long it's been, and they're still in the news all the time doing something.
Well, that's like I call this surreal. I remember even like 1980 or so with the Stones seeing a video for Time on My Side, and they showed them. Then I'm going, this is just surreal seeing how old these guys are now. And Mick's famous quote about I won't be shaking my ass when I'm 40.
How about 80?
Yeah,
how about 90?
He's pretty close.
It's like, but it's just surreal thinking about how. Like now these bands are still, like there's a good meme this year about the number one hits were the Beatles and the Stones.
Well, because I don't think you can get a following like you did in the past. Even if you were on progressive radio, as they called it back then, or college radio, or pop radio, it was finite. Now, hell, anybody can get anything they want at any time. They can at least listen to it. And so you're not... It's like you've got too many choices.
Too many choices, right. and there's that short attention span.
Yeah.
Like no one sits and listens to a record, like absorbing the whole goddamn thing.
The control has shifted.
Except us old folks.
The program directors no longer control what you hear.
Oh, no.
So,
total product.
Now...
now it's a computer.
Now you got everybody's... It's harder to get people's attention now because now you got to really... There's a bigger pool of stuff.
Well, that's why I appreciate where I am, because they've made a commitment to letting personalities pick their own music for the most part.
That's the best.
And the same with the station at RIT and the low power stations where you guys are at,
Right.
WRFT.
I could never do this on the radio.
Boy, I tell you, I went up to WSAY once when I was a teenager.
That was my station.
And we used because I knew, what's his name, Kevin. So he let us up there one time on French Road, and I just thought, oh, this is so cool, he's in a house and doing that stuff.
Yeah, just Jack, my friend Jack and I, we were juniors in high school, and we went to East High, so we're right down the street from CMF at that point.
Right.
So we went, got a 8-pack of Miller Ponies, popped a few of those, and went up to CMF and said, we'd like a tour, please. And they're like, sure, come on in.
I think I went there once at midnight or something because Roger was there and he let me in.
God rest his soul, man. He was so cool.
I was a Rolling Rock Ponies man myself. But that's like, be careful. These guys are really committed. I think one of them has been. But that's the other thing I really appreciate of your show. Still, there's always, it's like you mine more stuff. It's like always, I think everything that's on there. If something else pops up.
There's stuff that I have no idea. And I've got so many discs and records and stuff that I'll just pull something up and go, okay, what's going on this today? There was a point in the mid-'90s where I knew everything I had, but it was all tangible then, really. It was either a CD, mostly records, and I go, okay, this goes with this, and this is over here. Now it's like, I don't know. And there's new stuff coming in all the time, and I try and pare it down because I'm looking for a certain sound, and there's a lot of music that they're calling quote-unquote garage rock today that's nothing more than pop music, and it's, for the most part,
with lots of reverb.
It's not my bag.
You want the Beach Boys and they give you Summer in Paradise.
So I wanted to ask you guys, have you seen that documentary, How Music Got Free? It's on Paramount Plus if you have Paramount
Somebody
Plus.
Just said, did you send me the link? Somebody just sent me the link to that.
But
okay, I'll
it's
check
really
it.
good because it starts out with the whole, the record thing, and then it goes into the whole CD. When CDs, it's mainly about when the CD hit.
Right.
And then it goes from there when the guy, whoever he was, invented the MP3 format. Mm-hmm. This guy just came out with this. He figured out a way to squash it and compress it and all that.
And it sounds like it.
Right. So now, it's an interesting... And then, how these nerdy kids in a dorm or wherever they were started doing the file sharing. And it's a very interesting documentary.
But it seems like we're just getting started and we have to wind down because we're very special. But I'm going to say, what do you see for the future of your shows?
We're all going to hell in a handbasket.
That's it. Well, I went to confession last week, so I'm good. But Del Rivers? No, Del Rivers is not. Hi, Del. Hope you're doing well.
Hey, Del.
No, I just, whatever, I'll keep showing up until they don't want me to anymore. That's pretty much it.
It's going to shake until the cows come in.
Until I can't, or they don't want
what
me.
Else are you gonna do?
And even if they don't want me,
actually, some lucky person, if they're still there at Archive, you can buy a bunch of Dell's CDs at Archive. I mean, Steve and I were going to buy them, but he used it.
To be fair, though, he lived across the street from me. And I'd be listening to all this British Invasion stuff and this weird garage rock and instrumental, and he'd come over and he'd bring some great stuff, too. I mean, his parents had the Ventures LPs and Everly Brothers LPs, and Del and I sort of, we'd listen to The Glory That Was Grease every Sunday night.
Oh, yeah.
And we'd glean out the songs we liked. So, Del had a big part in it, because nobody else would listen to this.
I was always a Dr. Demento fan on Sunday.
Oh, me too.
That was under the Stazzleberries. But we have some special treats at the end for this, and I know, Mike, I asked you to pick a song out if we could find it on YouTube.
Oh, you'll find it.
That you would sort of symbolize the spirit of your show.
Yeah.
So it's not I Was Made for Dancing by Leif Garrett.
No. I was going to do Cool One by Stars, but I'm going to pass on that. We're gonna do the Dave Clark 5, Having a Wild Weekend, because that kind of says it all. Now, if you've ever seen the movie, turn it off after the intro when they play this song, because it's weird and awful. But the song is fantastic.
Now I want to see it.
Did you see Leif Garrett on Wonder Woman this morning?
No, I didn't actually. He was in the Outsiders though by SCN. I just thought.
No, that's why he's in your head. I was just about to shut the TV off, and all of a sudden there he is. I'm like, Wonder Woman?
Oh my goodness! I don't know what to say. But Stars is a weird thing because they were Looking Glass. Brandy, remember Brandy? That song?
Yeah. Is that the guy? Yeah. Well, his brother's Rex Smith. You know that. And I saw them open up for the Sweet in 1978 at the Auditorium Theater.
We were talking when I played Stars. You were like, "You're playing Stars."
Yeah, and they were great. And then he did this thing with the champagne bottle, but we don't have to go there. But the Sweet was flipping great, and it's like, here's our new song. Oh, that's pretty good.
Then,
Love Is Like Oxygen. Yeah.
And then, this is always fun. We just need more time.
More time.
More time.
Part 2.
No, Part 2, Part 3. But we have a very special treat. Everybody remembers Shore Leave. We're going to have the sequel, and I have no idea what they're doing.
Yeah, neither do we.
You bring your bongos, Mike?
Groovy, baby.
He's always got his bongos. My wife don't let me leave the house with mine.
But I have the bongos, man. I've got them on me all the time.
But the only other thing I think we should start, Greg and I should start carrying the Paul Kersey sock of death packed with coins in case that Phantom of the Keylocks comes back.
Keylocks.
Yeah,
as long as it's not, the temperature is not that high, we're good with the Keylocks. Because then they just turn back into stones.
Where would you like to welt this time?
On that, good night, Mrs. Calabash, wherever you are, and thank you guys for being on.
Thank you, sir.
I got a million of them. Thanks, guys.